So here, if we're asked to graph y equals 4/5 x plus 2, what kind of form are we looking at here? Slope-intercept form. So just remind me, what is slope-intercept form? What does it look like? Y equals mx plus b? So again, we're graphing up here, so everybody should be doing this. I don't want us doing other stuff. Working on this, because you guys said you needed more help. So if I'm doing y equals mx plus b, do you guys see how this is in that form? The y is by itself, there's a number in front of the x, and then there is a constant number that's being added or subtracted. So in slope-intercept form, what does each of these variables represent? So what is the m? It is the slope, it is the rise over run, and then the b represents the... So the two things that I'm given are the slope and the y-intercept, which is why we call it slope-intercept form, because you get the slope and the intercept. So if I have to graph something, if I have to graph this line, this tells me how much the line should rise and run. But does it tell me where the line starts? I have no start point here. I know I need to rise 4 and run 5, but from where? So a lot of people, when they do this, the mistake they make is from here, they rise 4 and run 5, and they start there. You can't start at the origin. You have to start with a point on this line. And the only thing that's a point on the line is the y-intercept. The y-intercept tells me what? Where the graph crosses the y-axis. That's why it's a y-intercept. So here, if the y-intercept is 2, that means we cross the y-axis at 2. And that's where I'm going to begin. Go to the y-axis. Plot a point. Question so far. So when I graph this, start with a y-intercept. Go there. Then, once I know my start point, I can use the slope to find other points. So if the slope is 4/5, from here, I'm going to rise 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to run 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so right here, I put my next point. And you can do this as many times as you want to. So the sloppier you are, right, you don't draw good straight lines, you're going to need to put a bunch of points. You can tell by my points, guess how many points I put? As many as I could. Up 4, right 5. I can get another point on there. Now going up and right, you see how this is positive and positive? Going up is positive, right is positive, up is positive, right is positive. Guess what else we can do from this point? We could go down and left. You see how that's still in line? So up and right is positive, down and left is also positive, because a negative divided by a negative is positive. So if I go down 4, right 5, puts me here, and then down 4, right 5. Went too far. That's how we graph something that's in slope-intercept form. So if I had to graph this one, first thing I'm checking, am I in slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Yes, it's in slope-intercept form. So if I need to graph this, where do I begin? Begin on the y-axis. So the y-axis is, the y-intercept is 3. So I plot my point at 3. And the slope here is -2. Well, we want it to be rise over run. So we can write that as -2 over 1. Which means if I rise -2, what is that going to look like? I'm going to go down 2. And if I run 1, I'm going to go right 1. One thing I want us to notice here. Don't put negative over negative. What happens if I go down 2 and left 1? What did we just talk about? Down and left is positive. Because it's a negative over a negative. So if this is a negative number, my slope is supposed to be negative, choose. Either put the negative on top or on bottom. But don't put it with both. That'll make you miss it. So I went down 2, right 1. Let's keep doing that. Down 2, right 1. That's not correct, Cody. That is. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. I'm out of space. So now guess what I could do? I can also go up 2 and left 1. It's the same thing. Up 2, left 1. Up 2. Left 1, up 2, left 1. Yes.
Alright, I'm not having trouble with those. I'm having trouble with that. It's like this. It's like it gives you points and then it asks you to go at.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So if I want to put this in slope-intercept form, what two things do I need to know? The slope and the y-intercept. Slope, intercept, form. So here, I would start, what's the y-intercept? So where does it cross the y-axis? Well, here's the y-axis. Where does my line cross? It does not cross at +2. It crosses at +1. Here's 2. Right? It tells me this point is the point 0, 1. So my y-intercept is 1. So everybody okay with that? Now how can I find the slope? The rise over run. Pick 2 points that are on your line. Notice how they pick points, and I call these crosshairs. Right? Pick a point that's on a crosshair. So this is a good point. Okay, but where's my next time the line crosses the crosshair? It's right here. So then I want to know, how can I get from this point to this point? Well, they went down 3, so the rise is -3, and the run was right 4. So down 3, right 4, which means the slope is -3/4. So to put this in slope-intercept form, y equals -3/4 x plus 1. Questions there? If you have a graph, can you write the equation? Okay, what do we think it is?
Y equals 2 over 3x minus 2.
What do we think? That is correct. The y-intercept is -2. So we put a -2 for B. And then to go from point to point, we would rise 2, run 3. And that's up and right. So those are both positive. So 2/3 x minus 2. One thing we haven't really talked about yet, that I guess I want to talk about now. Notice how if I look at this line from left to right, what's the line doing? The line is going up. From left to right, the line is going up. That means it has a positive slope. If from left to right, the line's increasing, we need a positive slope. If from left to right the line was going down, that would be a negative slope. So that's the way you can kind of check your work, and in case you get that backwards, you can know that. So here it says, how can you find an equation of a line passing through 2 points if neither one is the y-intercept? So they give me 2 points as an example, and they want to know what's the equation of this line. Well, the only equation I know is slope-intercept form right now. What 2 things do I need? Slope, y-intercept. If I'm given 2 points, can I find either one of those things?
Yes.
Which one?
Slope.
If I know 2 points, can I find the slope between those 2 points?
Yes.
How?
Was it
X2
x2 minus x1 over y2 minus y1?
Close.
Or did I get that backwards?
Remember, what is slope? It's the rise over run. Which one of these variables has to do with rising?
Y.
Y's. So it should be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Slope formula. You guys know that yet? You good with that? So now just substitute in. So I'm going to make this my x1, y1, x2, y2. So this is 4 minus negative 2. Means I can make that a plus 2. Over x2 minus negative 1. It's going to be plus 1. Is it okay with what I did there? I have a negative in my formula. And so then when I did minus negative 2, you guys write that as plus 2. Is everybody okay with that? So this is 6 over 4, which is 3 over 2. So now I know the slope is 3 over 2. So in order to finish slope-intercept form, I need one other thing. I need the y-intercept. But I'm not given the y-intercept. So how could we find the y-intercept? Well, here is the trick. So in the equation, the x and y, that could be any x and y that goes through that line. I could pick any x and y that goes through the line, and it'll make the equation true at some point. So because I know an x and a y that the line crosses, I can plug that in for x and y. So if I plug that in and simplify, 3 halves times 3 is 9 halves, which is 4.5. Subtract 4.5 from both sides. And so B is equal to negative a half. So okay, what I did there, I kind of did some fancy schmancy math. 3 halves times 3 is 9 halves. Is everybody okay with that? If you're not, speak up. That's to be a point on the line, though. What point did you want to pick? No, can't do that. Because this is like, are you saying to put 4 here? Yeah, no, you can't do that. Because if you put 4 here, you're saying it has to cross the y-axis at 4. So just rough sketch here. If you put a 4 there, you're saying the y-intercept is 4. But then we also know there are points at -1, -2. So you know this is a point. And you know that 3, 4 is a point. So if I have a line that goes through these 2 points, and you're saying the y-intercept is here, So I know the y-intercept has to be somewhere.
Welcome back, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, thank you.
Leaving you alone.
I know that the y-intercept has to be somewhere in this area. We're across the y-axis. And I found it mathematically, it's at -1/2. Which again makes sense, that's between 0 and -1. Right, my line's not perfect. I just am kind of winging it up here. I'm not getting a lot of good vibes on what I just did. I'm not getting good vibes. Were you good with finding the slope?
Yes.
So it fell apart here.
Yes.
Are you good with this step? Plug in. So all I did here, I found the slope was 3/2. So I plugged that in for him. Everybody's good with that? This equation has 3 unknowns. The y, the x, and the b. If I can eliminate it to be only one unknown, then I can solve for that one unknown. So let me explain a little bit about lines.